The Prime Minister of Canada is the primary minister of the Crown. The Prime Minister acts as the head of government for Canada, chairs and selects the membership of the cabinet, and advises the Crown on the exercise of executive power and much of the royal prerogative. As Prime Ministers hold office by virtue of their ability to command the confidence of the elected House of Commons, they typically sit as a member of Parliament and lead the largest party or a coalition in the House of Commons. Justin Trudeau is the 23rd and current Prime Minister of Canada. He took office on November 4, 2015, following the 2015 federal election where his Liberal Party won a majority of seats and was invited to form the 29th Canadian Ministry. Trudeau was subsequently re-elected following the 2019 election with a minority of seats. Not outlined in any constitutional document. The office exists only per long-established convention that stipulates the monarch's representative, the Governor-General, must select as Prime Minister the person most likely to command the confidence of the elected House of Commons. This individual is typically the leader of the political party that holds the largest number of seats in that chamber. Canadian Prime Ministers are appointed to the Privy Council and styled as the Right Honourable, a privilege maintained for life. The Prime Minister is supported by the Prime Minister's office and heads the Privy Council office. With the authority of the Parliament of Canada, the Prime Minister and Cabinet manage the Government of Canada. The Prime Minister also effectively appoints individuals to the Senate of Canada and to the Supreme Court of Canada and other federal courts, along with choosing the leaders and boards, as required under law, of various Crown corporations. Under the Constitution Act, 1867, government power is vested in the monarch, but in practice the role of the monarch, or their representative, the Governor-General, is largely ceremonial and only exercised on the advice of a cabinet minister. The Prime Minister also provides advice to the Monarch of Canada for the selection of the Governor-General. The position of Prime Minister is not outlined in any Canadian constitutional document and is mentioned only in passing in the Constitution Act, 1982, and the Letters Patent, 1947 issued by King George VI. The office and its functions are instead governed by constitutional conventions and modelled on the same office in the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister, along with the other ministers in Cabinet, is appointed by the Governor-General on behalf of the monarch. However, by the conventions of responsible government, designed to maintain administrative stability, the Governor-General will call to form a government the individual most likely to receive the support or confidence of a majority of the directly elected members of the House of Commons. As a practical matter, this is often the leader of a party whose members form a majority, or a very large plurality, of the House of Commons. While there is no legal requirement for Prime Ministers to be MPs themselves, for practical and political reasons the Prime Minister is expected to win a seat very promptly. However, in rare circumstances individuals who are not sitting members of the House of Commons have been appointed to the position of Prime Minister. Two former Prime Ministers, Sir John Joseph Caldwell Abbott and Sir Mackenzie Bowell, served in the 1890s while members of the Senate. Both, in their roles as government leader in the Senate, succeeded Prime Ministers who had died in office. John A. Macdonald in 1891 and John Sparrow David Thompson in 1894. That convention has since evolved toward the appointment of an interim leader from the Commons in such a scenario. Prime Ministers who are not MPs upon their appointment have since been expected to seek election to the House of Commons as soon as possible. For example, William Leo Mackenzie King, after losing his seat in the 1925 federal election, briefly governed from the hallway before winning a by-election a few weeks later. Similarly, John Turner replaced Pierre Trudeau as leader of the Liberal Party in 1984 and subsequently was appointed Prime Minister while not holding a seat in the House of Commons. Turner won a riding in the next election but the Liberal Party was swept from power. Turner was the last Prime Minister to not occupy a House of Commons seat while in office as Prime Minister. Should a serving Prime Minister today lose his or her seat in the legislature? Or should a new Prime Minister be appointed without holding a seat? The typical process that follows is that a junior member in the governing political party will resign to allow the Prime Minister to run in the resulting by-election. A safe seat is usually chosen. While the Liberal and Conservative parties traditionally observed a convention of not running a candidate against another party's new leader in the by-elect,